Hello everyone, my name is Cherie and today I'm here to do a book haul. I got these books from my local independent bookstore, The Book Loft, from Barnes & Noble as well as bookoutlet.com. The first book I'll show you is The Story Life of AJpikary by Gabrielle Zevin. This is actually the third Gabrielle Zevin book that I own and I have yet to read any of her novels. I should probably change that at some point. But this book is the story of this man who owns a bookstore and the store is doing horribly, and on top of that, one of his prized possessions ends up being stolen. And I've heard it's pretty much a book about books, and since I love books, maybe I'll end up loving this story as well. The next book I have is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I don't know too much about this book. I know it's an adult fantasy, and while I was at the bookstore, I really wanted to purchase an adult fantasy. And while I was in that section, the name of the author looked familiar to me, so I figured it would be a perfect time to get into her work. With this book being an epic fantasy, I figured it would be a great book to purchase now so that I can get ready for the cold months, and I figured it would be a great time to read it. The next book I have is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This story is based off of the fan fiction that was in Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, which, if you aren't familiar with Fangirl, is pretty much his coming of age story of this girl going to college, and she still loves writing fan fiction of the series that she grew up reading. And obviously there are other things that happen in Fangirl, but the fan fiction is what relates to this book. I believe this book is built as the final book in a series. I am a fan of Rainbow Rowell. I read Eleanor Park and Fangirl by her, and I really like both of them, but I was kind of hesitant about this book when I first heard that she was writing it, but I've heard such great things about it that I definitely had to pick it up. The next one I got is a graphic novel, and that is Monster by Walter D. Myers, adapted by Guy A. Sims. I actually read this book in November and I talked about it in my fall reading wrap-up. It's pretty much a story about this kid who may or may not have been at the wrong place at the wrong time, and you get to see him on trial and him in lockup and his perspective about everything that's going on around him. The next book I got is My True Love Gave to Me, 12 Holiday Stories, edited by Stephanie Perkins. I will probably end up picking this up soon since Christmas is just right around the corner. I'll grab some hot chocolate and read a few of the stories. I probably won't read all of them, but I'm interested to read a few of them by some of the authors. The next one I have is The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer. This is a story of two brothers who end up sneaking out one night and only one of them ends up coming home, and I believe it follows the one brother's story years later while he tries to figure out what exactly happened that night. It's another one I've heard great things about, so I definitely had to get it. The next book I got is This Is Your Life, Harriet Chance by Jonathan Evison. I wanted to pick this book up back when it came out, I believe in September. This is a story of a woman whose husband of 55 years has died, and she ends up going on a journey and finds out a lot about herself. I'm not sure if I know anyone who has read this book, but I definitely want to give it a go and hopefully review it. The next book I have is The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. I think I remember hearing about this book on the channel Between Chapters, and she made me definitely want to think about picking it up. I believe this might be a middle grade fantasy novel, and we get to see a lot of the main character's imagination while his reality and the fantasy and the books I read, they kind of meld together. The next book I got is Wolf in the White Van by John Darnielle. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I don't really know too much about this book. I think it might have video games in it or some kind of type of games in it. It is definitely a book where I like to cover, so hopefully the story will be just as good. The next book I got is The Thinking Woman's Guide to Real Magic by Emily Carroy Barker. Now, on the back of this book, it says, if Hermione Granger had been an American who never received an invitation to Hogwarts, this might have been her story. Now, I don't know if that is true or not, but I've been looking at this book online for a long time, and I thought about picking it up. So when I saw it on Book Outlet, it is another one I definitely had to put in my cart. The next book I got is The Girl Who Saved the King of Sweden by Jonas Jonasson. I am guessing this book is about a girl who ends up saving the King of Sweden. From what I got in the inside flap, it's about this girl who ends up becoming a prisoner, then she finds herself in Sweden. I think one of my friends read this book and she really enjoyed it, so I want to give it a go and see how I feel about it. The next book I got is The Glass Sitins by S.E. Grove. I believe this is a middle grade adventure story. It's about this girl who came from a family of explorers. I don't know too much about it, but I figure it's the perfect book to be on my shelf for when I'm in the mood for some kind of adventure story. I could see it on my shelf and say, hey, why don't I read that? The next book I got is The Kept by James Scott. I am not going to lie. I purchased this book because it had snow on the cover. It's set in the winter of 1897 and it's about this woman who comes home and sees that an unthinkable crime has happened. It definitely seems like a book where I will be bundled up under a blanket and drinking some hot chocolate. The next book I have is Some Sing, Some Cry by Natozak Shang and Ifa Bayeza. I probably mispronounced their names and I definitely apologize for that. I heard about about this book on Brown Girl Reading's channel. This book definitely intrigued me, and I was glad I saw it on Book Outlet. It pretty much follows this family throughout years of history in America. I think I'm going to make this one of the books that I definitely need to read in 2016. I have a few books that I'm thinking about making a video on for books I want to read during the year, and I believe this will be one of them. And the last 3 books are mass market paperback, and I rarely ever read mass market paperback. The first one is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I heard about this on the Readers podcast, and they made me want to read it because they talked about it a few times. It is a romance novel, and I don't really read romance too much, but I think I want to change that. So why not change it with a classic? The next story I ended up getting because my brother and I went to go see Victor Frankenstein over the Thanksgiving holiday, and I was reminded that I don't remember reading either of these growing up. So I ended up picking up Frankenstein by Mary Shelley and Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now, I think I read Frankenstein in 8th grade. I can't promise that I read Frankenstein in 8th grade, but I think I did. But I don't have a copy of it. So it's good to have a copy of it, and I want to actually reread it. So if I did read it, I will be rereading it soon. And then Dracula, I just wanted a copy of Dracula. I know I have not read Dracula, and I want to read it. I just don't know when. I will probably read Frankenstein before I read Dracula though. But that's all I have for this video today. Definitely leave any comments down below if you've read any of these books or if you're thinking about picking any of these books up. Also, if you think I should read any of these books right now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.